How's it going, everybody? Gaurav, Bhatt and Mihir Vasavda here. You're listening to the Express Sports Podcast and it's game time. Last week, Mihir, along with Sandeep Gopal and Devendra Pandey, discussed the captaincy change in Indian cricket, with Virat Kohli being removed as ODI skipper and the National Selection Committee making Rohit Sharma the sole white ball leader of the team. Now, Kohli had earlier relinquished his T20I captaincy at the end of the T20 World Cup in October-November, citing workload. In an Instagram post, however, he had expressed his desire to continue as India's Test and ODI captain. So the week since has been beset with whispers, speculations, questions and theories. Virat Kohli addressed some of those and I would say cleared a little bit of air while also furthering these tensions, the fire. It's a he said situation. It's kind of been tough to follow, both in the wow, new comment, a new report, a new tweet scenario, and also tough in the sense that, wow, it's such a throwback to those BS days of old. And to bring a little clarity, to recap exactly what's been happening, we have with us Shamik Chakrabarty, who has been following this episode from the very beginning extremely closely. Shamik, just to recap, what has transpired since last week when Kohli was removed as captain, and what is the whole issue now? Where do we stand?
See, as you said, Virat cleared the air a little bit, but again, as it transpired, it was sort of allegations, counter allegations. On December 8th, the press release came from the BCCI announcing the test squad for South Africa. And very lazily, just a one-liner said that the one-day captaincy has been changed. Rohit will be the captain in place of Virat Kohli. I think what BCCI misunderstood is the backlash from Virat Kohli fans. Just on Twitter itself, he has 45.3 million followers. So the very next day, what happened? Shah Ganguly out became a trend on Twitter. In a damage control exercise, BCCI put out a tweet, "Thank you, captain." And then Saurabh said he spoke to Virat before he relinquished T20I captaincy. And it was his advice to him not to step down, because if he would have continued as T20I captain, there was no intention to change white ball captaincy. And as Saurabh said, once Virat decided to step down as T20I captain, it was not logical to have two separate captains for white ball cricket. So that is the reason why they changed ODI captaincy. That's where the things stand. Now, in a fresh turn of events yesterday, when Virat addressed the press at the pre-departure press conference, he categorically said nobody requested him not to relinquish T20I captaincy. So it is a case of totally contradicting the BCCI precedent, which, I have been covering cricket for almost quarter a century now. I don't think it has ever happened publicly an Indian team player is contradicting the BCCI precedent. This is where the things stand now. This has been unprecedented in Indian cricket. Although Virat didn't take any name, but it is completely implied, like it was Saurabh's comment that he advised Virat not to step down from T20I captaincy. Virat saying nobody put forward such a request. And he was informed about the ODI captaincy change during the discussion. An hour and a half before the team selection, Chetan Sharma, chief selector, called him. They had a discussion. They agreed over the team composition. And at the end of the selection meeting, everything is according to Virat. At the end of the selection meeting, Chetan Sharma told him that the selectors decided to change the ODI captaincy, to which Virat said, okay, fine. So this is where things stand. And this is absolutely not a very good advertisement for Indian cricket.
That's brilliantly summed up, Shamik, because this is a very complex issue. What is generally the protocol when it comes to selecting captains or sacking them? Is it the sole call of the selectors, or are the BCCI top bosses involved? Of course, it's naive to think that they aren't taken into consideration while making such calls, but who rubber stamps these decisions?
Once any selection decisions has to be rubber stamped by the BCCI president, that is as per constitution. You can recall one incident when Krishnamachari Srikanth-led selection committee decided to remove MS Dhoni as test captain. Mahinda Ramannath was one of the selectors then, and he put forward the proposal N. Srinivasan was the BCCI president then. He was playing golf. Upon getting the information, he rushed into the selection meeting and he categorically told the selection committee it's not going to happen. And no selection is valid until and unless the BCCI president rubber stamping it. Following Lodha reforms, what happened? The new constitution of the BCCI has given selectors absolute power. So now the president's rubber stamp is no longer required. It is the decision of the selection committee. And you were talking about the previous custom, right? Any previous example of a player being told before removing him from captaincy? I think just once it had happened when MS Dhoni quit Test captaincy in the middle of a Test tour in Australia. But before limited overs captaincy change, he was given a tap on the shoulder by the then selection committee chief, MSK Prasad. Other than that, I cannot remember ever a captain had been informed beforehand when the selectors or the BCCI decided to make a change.
It is extremely fascinating the way things have turned out. I mean, to give a very lame pop culture example, I think a lot of people who would have seen the Virat Kohli press conference would have got strong Kendall Roy vibes from Succession. But Shamik, why is Virat Kohli's presser, or why are his comments so significant?
Number one, he is very successful as a batsman. He is one of the best batsmen. But I think this is the power of social media in the sense, in a way. As I mentioned, on Twitter itself, he has 43.5 million followers. His fan following is enormous. He is a superstar. He is a very successful captain, having a win percentage of close to 70 in one-day cricket itself. And as a test captain, he has taken India to unprecedented heights, winning back-to-back series in Australia and currently leading 2-1 in a 5-match series in England. The last test will be played next year at Oval, which was postponed due to COVID. Now, the thing is that Indian cricket has seen many superstars, starting from Mansoor Ali Khan Pataudi. MS Dhoni was a huge superstar. Sachin Tendulkar was a big superstar. But Virat Kohli is a global star. His friend list comprises the likes of Harry Kane, Thomas Muller, international sportsmen like them. So he is a global star. He is a brand unto himself. He is the face of Test cricket. He is the reason why Test cricket is still thriving. He is the reason why young Indian cricketers still like to play cricket and gives it the top priority. Because of Virat's stature, it has become such a big issue. And only Virat could have put forward his points that in such a candid way. I doubt if it were Rohit or Ajinkya, they would have kept quiet, I think, on the matter. They would have avoided question. Maybe before the press conference, the media manager would have issued a directive saying that only questions related to South Africa series will be entertained, stuff like that. Yesterday, Virat's mood was that he was enjoying it and he was ready to tell his side of the story.
Yeah, I noticed how even at the end, when the media manager was supposedly ushering him out, he wanted to answer the questions being asked in the chat also. So he was in that sort of a mood.
Absolutely. And something similar happened during T20 World Cup also, when that Mohammad Shami related question came about Mohammad Shami was being brutally abused on social media over his religion after India's loss to Pakistan. And when that Mohammad Shami related question came, the media manager said the social media thing had been answered before. So Virat shut him out saying that, no, I will answer this question. And he publicly defended Shami at a time when the BCCI preferred to keep its own counsel.
Since you brought it up, Shamik, and there's also been this very outlandish theory that, because of that defense of Mohammad Shami and how he was a statesman-like figure in the way that he said, we're not going to be tolerating any trolls, who do this sort of a discrimination on religious basis. There's also been this very unhinged theory that it's perhaps the Shamiwala comments that, this is happening to Kohli, this is the fallout of that. There's been no evidence of that or no nothing, but where do you stand on that take?
I don't think so. First of all, see all these rumors about Shami, BCCI, Virat falling out with BCCI over the Sami incident, or the dressing room discord over, Virat and Rohit are not seeing eye to eye. To start with, we don't have the proper properties of fly. Dressing room, it is sacred, and we don't know what is happening in the dressing room. We have seen Virat speaking in glowing terms about Rohit's captaincy yesterday. The day before, Rohit was saying that I always enjoyed playing with Virat and following them at close quarters. What I can ascertain, they have excellent mutual professional respect they have. So I don't think so. It is the only cases which was Virat also mentioned. As far as white ball cricket's captaincy is concerned, it's about India didn't win ICC event under Virat's captaincy, and that remains a massive void. I don't want to say a massive void, but that remains a void in his captaincy CV. Otherwise, what he has achieved as a test captain is excellent. I think that is the reason. And Rohit has won 5 IPLs for Mumbai Indians. When, as a stopgap, he led India, he showed his tactical shrewdness. So, this is a case, I think the BCCI, the selectors wanted a transition. We have two back to back ICC events. Next year, T20 World Cup in Australia, followed by the 50 over World Cup in India in 2023. And Rohit is a year older than Virat. He is 34. The BCCI and the selectors felt this is the right time to usher in a change in white ball captaincy once Virat relinquished T20 captaincy, citing workload issue, and which was the right decision. I don't want to read between the lines. And there was no fallout between BCCI and Virat over Shami. Although at the same time, I'll mention BCCI is not very comfortable with big stars. It has happened with Tiger Pataude before, with Sunil Gavaskar, Saurabh Ganguly himself. So once someone becomes a big star, sometimes BCCI, not sometimes, usually BCCI, the administrators, they become a little iffy.
Just to jump in there, actually, Shamik, you mentioned about Kohli's captaincy and him not winning ICC trophies. I think there was a pretty upfront acknowledgement on his part regarding that, right? I mean, he said in his press conference that he understood the logic behind BCCI removing him as the captain.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not sure if that was him saying, okay, I'm cool with the idea of losing ODI captaincy, or him just playing coy and trying to kind of put that thing under the water. But in the press conference yesterday, he seemed to have come prepared. He played his cards really well. But now it kind of, Gaurav, since we've been discussing this bit as well, थोड़ा एक तरह से ये गांगुली के ऊपर भी spotlight डालता है, नहीं? I mean, his stay as BCCI president has been controversial, if we were to put it mildly. So Gaurav, how do you read that bit now?
It's been, take for example, the rescheduled test in England where he basically said he wanted it to be a one-off game, and then a few hours later he basically said no, it was always going to be the 5th test of the series. It's been things like that. Plus, personally, for me, man, despite being the BCCI president, he has been overshadowed even in the hashtags that have been going around in, Jay Shah and Ganguly out. He hasn't come across as this great in-command BCCI president. Perhaps Shamik can correct me on that, but I have been feeling a little disappointed with the way sort of Ganguly has handled all this since after Virat Kohli's presser, he should have, I guess, like a lot of people are saying, a lot of previous cricketers are saying, he should have come on here and he should have also cleared the air a bit. Shamik, am I correct? Am I being, fair in this assessment, or what do you make of it? And also, there's a second prong to this query. This debate has now shifted towards this indifference between Kohli and Ganguly, this relationship of sorts. And you have said that, we do not have properties of the fly, but you have the property of being a great incisive reporter. What is your take on that fractured relationship, and how Ganguly himself has come across as the BCCI president during these episodes?
Yeah, as you mentioned, Gaurav, he has been playing second fiddle. As the BCCI president, he has been playing second fiddle. And we all know that. We all know that no file moves without the approval of Jai Shah, who is the secretary. So this is what it is at the moment. But I would rather appreciate Saurabh. I don't know who said what. We know who said what because Saurabh gave us a quote. Virat did a press conference, but I don't know who is telling the truth and who is not. But Saurabh not reacting to Virat's comment yesterday, I would say it showed maturity. People will demand a response from Saurabh. Okay. And I can assure you, Saurabh will not take it like, okay, what has said is said. It has been done. I don't think Saurabh will not take it too kindly. But Saurabh has shown maturity by not reacting to Virat's comment. India have embarked on a tour to South Africa, a country where they haven't won a test series in 29 years. Now, the fact is that another comment from Saurabh, it will make things even more messy. I would rather blame Chetan Sharma. As I told you, the thing is that now selection committee has absolute authority on selection matters. And it had been a long standing custom in Indian cricket that after every selection, chief selector addressing the media. Chetan Sharma has stopped that. I don't want to listen to the logic that he is not doing it because BCCI is not allowing him to. He being the chief selector, he is not doing, that's his fault. Over the last 1.5 years, he has addressed only one press conference after the team selection of the T20 World Cup. This is a selection, as also Saurabh gave us the quote he mentioned. It was eventually the decision was taken by the selectors. And he being the chief selector, he should have come forward. He should have called a press conference to clear the air. He has let everybody down, Chetan Sharma. So I would rather say the biggest fault lies with Chetan Sharma, the chief selector.
All right. And Shamik, on the flip side of it, what do you make of Kohli's stint as the captain and not just captain, but a leader in the truest sense of the form, along with Ravi Shastri? He had a great rapport. Now Ravi Shastri is out. Rahul Dravid has come in. Usse pehle there was Anil Kumble, who didn't gel well with Virat Kohli. So it was that sort of a alpha energy that he brought to the team, and that translated onto the field as well. But maybe perhaps that is why he's a little shell shocked and he's a little taken aback that this could happen to him as well. What do you make of his captaincy stint now that it's clearly over?
I mean, gradually what happened, he became the very definition of player power. And the whole Anil Kumble episode encapsulated that. The BCCI was under the committee of administrators then, and they were starstruck. They didn't handle the issue properly. And Virat eventually became the very definition of player power. On the flip side, when he took over as test captain, India had been languishing as 7th in the ICC rankings. Under him, India stayed at the top of the tree for 4 years, won back-to-back test series in Australia, leading 2-1 in England. And personally, I would rate that bigger than winning any ICC tournament. Winning back-to-back test series in Australia and winning a series in England should always rank higher than winning any ICC event, because that is white ball cricket. And he has won in test cricket, which is the purest and the toughest, the most challenging format of the game, number one. Under him, we have seen the growth of our fast bowling unit. India has become a pace bowling country under him. So though we have certain issues which I think nobody will agree with. One is that in 2018, dropping Ajinkya Rahane when he was the vice captain for the first 2 tests in South Africa. Those decisions felt like very arbitrary. Not having Ashwin for a single test in England this time around was also, and Ashwin had been having a fantastic season. That was also out of place. That was also undesirable. Maybe Virat had his reasons, and at the end of the day, he won. So you cannot criticize him much. Overall, I would say he is his biggest contribution is that making India a pace bowling country. I would say that would be his biggest contribution as a captain. Number two, he has reignited the enthusiasm for the youngsters to play test cricket again at a time when the IPL is the most lucrative cricket tournament on earth. Indian youngsters, you talk to anybody, Shubman Gill or anybody, Shivam Mabi, whoever, they would tell you that test cricket is their holy grail. So this is Virat Kohli's biggest legacy as captain.
You touched upon a lot of points there, which I think will be very critical in the next 3 to 4 weeks. Samik, you mentioned Rahane, Ashwin. I think I'll add Pujara to that list. What happens, Pujara?
Of course.
I mean, we could, of course, delve into the whole alleged rift between Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma, but personally, I don't know how that works out. I mean, there isn't a workplace on planet where colleagues will not have arguments or disagreements.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, even if there is a rift between Kohli and Rohit Sharma, I think they've handled it well enough to not let that show on the field. So if we take that away and Rohit not being in the test squad now because of his hamstring injury, how does the entire episode that's happened, that's unfolded over the last 5-6 days, how does that impact the team? I mean, we saw a very cryptic tweet by R. Ashwin on Wednesday, soon after Virat's press conference. What's the mood in the team and where does it leave the players now?
I think the mood of the team will not be affected given the fact that all of them are thorough professionals. Rahul Dravid is there, who is a very level-headed person, and Virat himself said yesterday that Rahul is a very good man manager. and he has the utmost respect of all the players. So I think that's a big thing. And as you mentioned, Meher, difference of opinion, brave. There is no dressing room on this planet that you don't have that. And grown up men are playing a professional sport. There will be difference of opinion and everything. Rohit missing the South Africa tour is a body blow for India from cricketing point of view. He has been India's most prolific run getter this year with close to 900 runs. And even in the home series against England earlier this year, his batting was the difference between the two sides. Kohli has been going through a follow period, and Rohit has. I mean, now even if they have rift, even if they are not saying eye to eye, did you ever see Rohit's intensity dropping on the field? He rather upped his game to a level that he has cracked the test code in such a way he has become one of the best openers in the long form. So that's what you want from bunch of professionals. I don't think the morale would be low. These are professional players, and behind the scenes in the dressing room, as I mentioned, they get along well. It's not like the 70s dressing room where Abid Ali is charging towards Farooq Engineer, Bishan Bedi is picking up a fight with Ajit Wadekar. It is not like that now. And in terms of cricket, Rohit's absence would be felt because KL Rahul has returned to Test fold after a gap of 2 years, scored a century and a half century in England. But this series is going to be even tougher. South Africa has a fantastic bowling attack. Mayank Agarwal's overseas record, overseas performance needs serious improvement. From that point of view, Rohit will be missed. Apart from that, India are not playing any warm-up fixture due to COVID-related rescheduling of the tour going into the first test on Boxing Day. So all these are there, but I don't think the entire episode, once they have landed there, they will start going through their paces and they will mean business. Now, I think this will gradually, if BCCI shows maturity, if nobody reacts to Virat's comment yesterday, this will gradually die down. And once cricket will resume, I mean, this will take a back seat.
All right, before we wrap up the episode, Mihir, मैं तुम्हें ही याद दिलाना चाहता हूँ यार. Last episode में you likened this situation to the one between Greg Chappell and Saurav Ganguly, and you basically posed a question to Sandeep Gopal, Sandeep ji, and he very bravely he said, no man, that was a kind of a long drawn out incident, the media leaks and all that stuff. It was very murky. It was not as straightforward as this Kohli ouster. No.
Such a bad Sandeep Gopal impression.
No, but more than that, such bad naivety and innocence on our part that we thought last week that it was not as straightforward as the Kohli ouster. So, what do you make of it? Any last remarks? कुछ वो recaps या कुछ दोबारा incidents की याद आती है from seeing how everybody is comparing this to the Chappell Ganguly situation?
यार वी आर अ पॉड दैट बिलीव्स इन पॉजिटिविटी यार. हम नेगेटिव चीजें ज्यादा देखते नहीं है, ज्यादा पुश भी नहीं करते. तो हमने तो सारा कुछ एकदम इनोसेंटली पॉजिटिव माइंडसेट में देखा था. अभी हम क्या करें अगर जो दुनिया थोड़ी सी टेढ़ी है.
Shamik, last remark from you, seeing how this the full text of Greg Chappell's, that infamous email to the BCCI that's been doing the rounds again. Everybody is very quick to draw similarities. Ki, Arey, sometimes you get Chappelled, sometimes you Chappell someone. Any similarity, anything common in these two situations? Seeing how you basically informed us during this podcast that captains ke saath ye hota rahe. They received that little tap or a nod that maybe it's time to move on.
I tell you one thing, when Saurav was removed as captain, then he lost the dressing room. It made things easier for Greg Chappell. Before that infamous email incident, India were playing a ODI against Pakistan and there was a team huddle. I was covering the game. Saurav was doing some stretching and the team huddle started without Saurav. And Saurav belatedly joined the team huddle. It was absolutely evident that he had lost the dressing room. And it made things easier for Chappell also. He was not scoring runs. In case of Virat, of course, he is not scoring centuries, but he is still scoring 50s, 40s, 60s. And when he is playing, he's still looking the best batsman in the team, number one. There is a similarity in a case that the removal, not informing the captain, but he is still the test captain. They haven't stripped him of captaincy altogether. He's still the test captain. And it is not that acrimonious also. Not acrimonious in the sense Virat may be taking it as a personal slide that I spoke about player power and he is the very definition of player power. So when his captaincy has been taken away because he intended to lead the country at the 2023 World Cup in India. Now, when this is no longer possible, of course, he will be upset. But once again, I would say it is better to draw a line, not to drag this one further. There is some similarities with Saurabh, but Saurabh's case was even messy. Going back even further in the 80s, Kapil Dev was removed from captaincy a year within winning the World Cup. Once again, second time when Kapil Dev was removed and Dilip Vengsarkar was appointed captain, he got to know it from a reporter. BCCI didn't tell him. So BCCI usually doesn't tell the captains that we have removed him. Now this is belatedly this custom. As I told you, only once did a selector walked up to captain and said, "We are thinking about a change." And accordingly, Dhoni picked up the vibe and he stepped down as ODI captain or white ball captain. Also, in Saurabh's case, it was a case of rivalry between two different factions of the board, Jagmohan Dalmia's lobby and Srinivas versus Sharad Pawar's lobby. Saurabh represented Jagmohan Dalmia's lobby. Now there is no lobby in the board. There is only absolute command. I think Virat has become a victim of his stardom and also his player power gradually. But this South Africa tour is going to be very, very important for him. He has taken on the BCCI president, which means he has taken on the BCCI but through his comment. If he doesn't score runs, he would be on a slippery slope.
Yeah. All right, everybody. On that note, let's wrap it up for today. Even though, like we said, this could either continue to unfold over the next few weeks or it could die down a natural death. Thanks a lot, Shamik, for the balanced, fair breakdown of the situation. And to the listeners, stay tuned to the Express Sports Podcast, to Game Time every Saturday. But more importantly, stay safe. Adios.
You were listening to Express Sports by the Indian Express. This week's show was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar and produced by me, Shashank Bhargav. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it. Share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Podcasts and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.